Some people might sit there and say, look, I've had a pretty bad life up to now. I haven't enjoyed my life at all. And yet the life that you've had has made you who you are today. And it's what's given you the unique perspective and understanding of the world today and of yourself. And that's the thing about your perspective of the world, folks. No one else can have it. It's unique to you alone. And your perspective of the world and your understanding of this reality comes from your experiences of reality up to this point in your life. And all perspectives are needed. This is how enlightenment for the singularity occurs, enlightenment for the Creator. This is how it occurred. All must be experienced. But ultimately, in the end, as I said in the last show, we're all going home. We're all going back to the Creator. We're all returning to the one self that we're all part of, because ultimately it's the only place we can possibly go. There is nothing else. That's all there is the Creator and the Creator's creation that exists in infinite love. And when you can be in infinite love and you can have this understanding of what reality is, and understand that all that truly exists is consciousness, there is no other. There is no us and them. There is only consciousness. There are certain frequencies of this consciousness at the moment that seek to control the rest of the consciousness. That's what's sort of being done. That's what needs to be addressed. This is where a lot of things like in the New Age movement, it falls down. The New Age movement will only address the return to self. It won't address what's happening in the physical world. See, it's a two-step process, folks. We need to free ourselves of the shackles of the physical world so that we are free to evolve, ascend, whatever you would like to call it, the consciousness that we're all part of. But we're never going to do that if we just sit back and wait for 2012 or something like that. I mean, I believe there is something going to happen in 2012. I really do believe we are in for some significant changes around the year 2012. But what it is more than anything is an elevation of consciousness. And we have to be sure that we have freed ourselves from a lot of the negative polarity that this world is based on in order for the overall consciousness to ascend. I really believe that that's what needs to be done. It would be great if we could do that. And I believe that we can. I really do. I have the utmost faith in our ability to free ourselves of the shackles that we are subject to in this physical world, to free ourselves of this corrupt monetary system, to free ourselves of the chemical and electromagnetic attack that we are constantly under through food additives and the poisons and toxins that are put in our food and our air and our surrounding electromagnetic environment. I believe we can free ourselves of this type of control. One thing that does fascinate me, though, is why some people are so hard to wake up. I've often thought about it. What is it that makes some people fully see what's going on and fully understand the system of control that's in place and free themselves from it and to live in a state of love with each other? And what causes other people to be so locked in to the matrix, so locked into a state of fear, so locked into a state of self-service, so locked into low frequency? Why some people are so hard to wake up, why some people are just naturally awake. Some people, as soon as you show them some information, they start thinking about it, they just go, bang, how could I have been so blind not to see this? Some people just instantly wake up, but some people just won't. Some people simply cannot put their brain into high gear. Some people simply cannot comprehend what you're talking about, and I find it an endless source of fascination and wonder as to what this is and why some people simply can't see what's going on. And I'm sure other people think the same things. I mean, I have many people write to me and say, look, I've tried everything and I just simply can't wake people up. And it's amazing, folks. I mean, maybe it's diet, maybe it's any number of things, but it is definitely a source of wonder. I've always attempted to present my information to people's left brain when I discuss things the way I do, and when I take the approach that I do in explaining things to people, I always do it with a very left brain perspective, simply because I feel that most people are very much locked into their left brain. Many people are very much unaware of the right brain perspective of life at all, and so that's just the way I try to do it. I figure most people have had a pretty much a left brain education. Our whole education system is really designed to keep people locked into their left brain and keep them away from the right brain, so I figure that's a good way of doing it. Like I said, I mean, even mentioning the work of people like Nassim Haramein, simply because he's a physicist who has now basically explained through physics everything that I've been telling you about energy on this radio show. Everything I've been telling you is now proven by physics. It's right there. The research is right there. I highly recommend going and checking out Mr. Haramein's website. He and a bunch of other scientists have got a site called the Resonance Project. You'll find a link to that on the links page on my website, thecrowhouse.com. I've made a few changes to the Crow House. I've moved all the banners off the front page there. I've put them all on the links page for you. The front page was just getting a little bit cluttered, so I've moved all of those banners to the links page, and I have tidied things up a little bit for you. Thank you very much for your continued patronage at the website. It's very gratifying to know that people do go there and check it out and see what's going on. Now, thinking about a left brain perspective of reality, like we were talking about before, I was talking to someone about the US Constitution. I mean, I often talk about the Constitution to people, even though I'm an Australian. I think America's a wonderful country, and I think that it really was a true bastion for freedom. It just kind of lost its way somewhere. Anyway, I was talking about the Constitution and what a wonderful document it is. But it's also a deceptive document. Now, I often talk about the need to protect the Constitution, and I really, really, truly believe that it is the most important problem that is facing America at the moment, is the dismantling of the Constitution, because the Constitution is what makes America what it is. But as I was saying before, the Constitution is a somewhat deceptive document, because the Constitution, all it really does is it lists the rights that you were born with. It lists a series of inalienable human rights. These are God-given rights that we all have and we all deserve. But what the Constitution has done is it has listed these rights and has presented them in such a fashion that they've been granted to you by the government. They're saying, look, we had a war to preserve these rights. We are now implementing these rights as law, and there you go, there's these rights. But what that does, folks, is that gives the government the ability to take those rights away from you. Simply by listing those rights as something granted to you by government, it gives the government the ability to take those rights away. These are inalienable God-given rights. This is why it is so important to protect the US Constitution, simply because a series of inalienable God-given rights have been written down on a piece of paper. That means that piece of paper must be protected at all costs, because if those rights are taken away from the people, then you lose basically the right of being a human being on this planet. That's it, folks. See, that's why it's deceptive. It's a beautiful document, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything is wrong with the US Constitution. It's a beautiful document, but it's been deceptive in the way it's been presented to the people, simply because by listing what is your inalienable God-given rights as government-granted rights, well, what the government giveth, the government can taketh away. And so that's the danger of the way it's been packaged and presented. to the people in all of its beauty.